So we've been talking about Joy-Con drift for quite a while. Basically since around the time that the Switch came out, this has been a thing. And recently there was a new fix that was found that actually seems pretty easy to do. And I talked about it in Newswave, then many of you followed up with messages for me to actually try the fix out. So I figured today we would take a shot at it and see if it does at least fix a Joy-Con that is currently having issues with drift with the analog stick. Now, the one issue I ran into is my other Joy-Con controllers, which I've had two that did have drifting issues, I ended up fixing, and now I've mostly been playing, I would say like 80% of the time in docked mode, so I really haven't been using the Joy-Cons as much, but I decided, you know what, we're gonna get a Joy-Con that's drifting, even if we have to sabotage a current Joy-Con, and I think I have a pretty good candidate right here. It's the one I actually bought off of eBay. Yeah, do you know if you go to eBay, you can start just searching for drifting Joy-Cons, and I went ahead and ordered one, and I figured, hey, let's see if this fix works. So as always, make sure you guys like the video if you enjoy it, and we're gonna start today with this video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Satisfy, the original creator of the asymmetric grip for the Nintendo Switch. Playing in handheld is one of the reasons we love the Switch. It allows us to take some amazing experiences on the go with us, but playing for any length of time can get uncomfortable. The Switch forces your wrists into an awkward position, and I noticed this especially on the right side with the lower analog stick. The Satisfy grip solves this problem by putting your hands into the same relaxed position you get with a Pro controller. It's a super comfortable position, and once you play with the Satisfy grip, you'll never go back. Their second generation design features unique silicone tabs that float the Switch in the grip. The design maximizes airflow, keeps your Switch secure from falling, and protects against scratching. There are a few wannabe grips out there, but once you hold this, you realize there is no comparison. And of course, they also make grips and bundles for the Switch Lite. Satisfy also makes great cases that fit the Switch with the grip. These cases are bulletproof and have enough room to fit accessories, spare batteries, and more. Be sure to check them out as well. Right now, there is a massive sale at Satisfy.com. All grips and bundles are on sale right now with up to 50% off. Head over to Satisfy.com and get yours. You can take off an additional 5% using my code SpawnWave. The link is in the description down below. Once again, thanks to Satisfy for sponsoring today's video. So first of all, let's talk about what causes Joy-Con drift. See, inside of these Joy-Cons with those analog sticks, there are pads that essentially tell the system the X and Y axis and where you are at any given time when you are moving the stick around. But as you are moving the stick around, you have these little metal pins that are essentially rubbing up against these pads in order to tell it where it is at any given time, and it'll kind of create these grooves, and at time it'll make a bunch of debris inside, which is one of the reasons why things like that electronic cleaner will at least help, because it will work to not only clean out that debris that's caused, but also make the connection a bit better between the metal prong and those pads. But as it's worn over time, you'll have like these little grooves and canyons kind of form, and eventually the pads won't be able to make correct connection with those prongs, and you'll basically have it start to drift because it's unable to tell where the X or Y axis is when it's dead center not being used. So this one I did get off of eBay, and you can see it here when it's trying to calibrate. It does this weird thing where it sort of just jumps slowly to the bottom right, and it kind of loses its center a little bit here. It's not the worst Joy-Con drift that I've seen, because I've seen drift where one of my controllers, when I would go in to calibrate, this dot would just slowly drop to the bottom here over time. This one just seems like it's slightly off. So I'm hoping that when we do apply this fix, it just kind of clears it up here. So I guess we'll go ahead and break this Joy-Con down and see what we get. Now I did go ahead and try to calibrate it as well after I got it out of the package from eBay, but it was still doing the same thing afterwards. Now I've already done several videos where we tear down Joy-Cons, and the nice thing about this one is you don't have to go too far into the Joy-Con. You just have to be able to get access to the back of the analog stick. I know on the right side it's easier. The left side, the left Joy-Con, which I have here, takes a bit more work. And this is one that a lot of people will probably notice because it obviously will control your character in many games. But this one has an extra layer of plastic that you have to get off with the battery to get access to the back of that analog stick, but even so, it's not too bad. So you just want a tri-tip screwdriver here with 4 screws. This will lift up. You just want to be careful of these ribbon cables. They run to the charge rail here along with those LEDs at the bottom. We have a battery that plugs in down here, so you want to unplug that right away. Once we remove this, there are a few more Phillips head screws under it, and this plastic will lift right up. Now you can see 4 screws here. You don't have to remove all 4 of them. We're just trying to take this plastic off. So we have this screw, and then the one hiding right down here. Those are the 3 you need to take out to get this plastic piece up. And when you do pick it up, you just want to watch out because we do have a ribbon cable running down through here. That is for the ZL button right there. So just carefully unclip that. And that's as far as you need to go to get to the back of the analog stick here. You can see we only have, what, 7 screws, and really 1 piece you need to unplug along with the battery. Otherwise, though, you're pretty much in. So now we just need to figure out what we're gonna put on the back of the analog stick. Now, the person who discovered this fix, the channel is VK's channel. And the idea here is you put pressure on the back of that analog stick. And when you do so, it will work to kind of reconnect the metal prongs inside of the analog stick against like the padding that it uses to kind of track where it is. So in the video, they'll use like cardboard. I've seen people use business cards. I was gonna use some thermal padding just because I have it laying around and it's malleable and it's designed essentially to have pressure pushed against it. And you can see I have a whole sheet of it right here. This isn't expensive stuff. It's used for like on top of chips between heat sinks. And generally I just have this stuff laying around because we use it so much at the different shops. But it is designed to essentially be pressed down for a while. So I figured this is probably one of the best times to use it if we're looking to have continued pressure going forward against this analog stick. But most of the tests have been done with like cardboard or business cards. So you should be able to get away with that, no problem. So I have the piece cut out. We're just gonna kind of line it up here as best as we can and just sort of stick it right there. So now I have this 1mm thermal pad on it, and I'm going to go ahead and replace the plastics here, and then we'll put it together and test it. So I can already tell this is an extremely tight fit. There's a lot of pressure on the back of this analog stick. If you look here, you can see it kind of through this cutout. But at the top, I mean, there's so much pressure right here, it's forcing this up. Now, when I do close it, there will be screws to kind of help close this here. But yeah, like there is a lot of pressure from this 1mm pad on the back. Also, just a reminder, when you go to close this up, make sure these ribbons from the rail is bent inwards. So they're not like out the opposite direction like that, because then you might close and kind of crimp the cable, maybe even breaking it. You want it to be in just like that, and then they'll close up fine. So it closed up fine. It's pretty much flush all the way around. But it definitely had a harder time going together with that extra little bit of thermal padding in there behind that analog stick. So let's drop it on the switch and test it out. Okay, so here we are with calibrate control sticks. We'll click to go in. And so far it's at least at the center. Let's go ahead and mess it up a little bit here. Just kind of go in a circle for a bit, see if it resets back to the middle. Okay, so far so good there. Let's try it the other way now. We'll just kind of wrap it around for a minute. I'll put it down. So it appears to be better. I mean, before we were kind of having it like jump around a bit in the middle there. And at least right now it seems better. So obviously now I'm just getting to the point where I'm just trying an extreme test here just by really just messing up the control stick. I mean, this is like worst case scenario, but I figure while we're here, might as well try it. And let's see if we get anything here. I mean, it's still just kind of hanging out at the middle there. No obvious drift or anything going on. So at least from initial impressions on this, it appears to have at least fixed this Joy-Con where it was kind of like slowly kind of just drifting around the center part here. And I think the fix is kind of cool. I mean, it's certainly something that is good to have, like if you need the Joy-Con to work then and there and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to wait maybe for a replacement. I think it's a good method for that. I don't know if I would recommend this being like your be-all end-all fix, like you put this piece of cardboard or business card or something behind that analog stick and that's it, you're good to go for the next like couple of years throughout this generation. No, what I would say you should do, if you're already comfortable getting to the back of the analog stick itself, you might as well order something like this off of Amazon. It's just a replacement analog stick. They just plug in. We took a look at it. It was 7 screws to get to it, another 2 if you're gonna remove this. it just sits in and that's it. Now, having that pressure added to the back, I guess would reconnect at least where those metal prongs are touching those pads, but those pads are already damaged at this time. So to me, it's better to replace a damaged part rather than just put a Band-Aid on it and hope that works for the rest of the Switch generation in that Joy-Con's life. It's also hard to tell how long exactly this fix will last, considering it's been discovered very recently and people just now started doing it to their Joy-Con controllers. So we'll have to see as we go along here how long this lasts. Do we have to replace, like, say, the cardboard or whatever you put behind that stick over time because it just gets worn out from the amount of pressure? We'll see. Like for this Joy-Con that I got off of eBay, I'm probably just gonna replace the analog stick with a new one that I buy off Amazon. But either way, hats off to VK's channel for figuring that out. I think it's a cool kind of fix to just have at least at the ready if your Joy-Con starts messing up and you want it to work right then and there. Of course, you need to make sure you at least have a tri-tipped screwdriver, but otherwise some cardboard or, like I said, a cut up business card or something there. Just something very thin that you can put behind the analog stick in order to add pressure to it. And I'm curious if Nintendo will look at this and maybe think about how they can work to hold up these Joy-Cons just a bit longer, because it's pretty clear now that Nintendo's not replacing these things. Like, we're not getting a Joy-Con Pro, at least. I mean, you think they would have done it by now with all the people mentioning this, but they have shown willingness to kind of change and alter the inside of this Joy-Con quietly, like with the antenna fix that they did. So I wouldn't be shocked if they add maybe a bit of extra thickness to the back of like the plastics near that analog stick in order to have added pressure, just to at least, again, help it along just a bit more until they can introduce the next Switch or something. Oh, look, we also have new Joy-Cons that just happen to work with maybe this Switch as well. But let me know what you guys think about this new Joy-Con fix. I think it's very creative, and it's kind of funny that it was something as simple as a piece of cardboard to the back of the analog stick at least gets it working again. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.